What's up, everyone? And today I'm bringing a deck profile on my mutants. Now, on my Patreon, every month I'll put up a poll where you can vote on decks that you want me to do a deck profile of. And for last month, the big winner was Mutants with 2 votes. So, not like by much. But other options were like Ghost Rig, Magical Muskets, among other things. And while some of them on that poll I may still do a deck profile of, some of them maybe not. And Mutant is a very interesting deck profile, but let's just get right into it. I run the 3 Mutant MO5. MO5 when it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 mutant monster from your deck to your hand, except MO5. And all the mutants have this additional effect where you can banish all the smaller mutants, you can banish 1 card from your hand or face the field, special summon 1 monster from your hand or deck based on the banished card. If you banish a monster, you summon beast, spell, mist, trap, arsenal. And basically you can use it to get your bigger mutants into the grave field. Basically, you at least want to have 1 of the big mutants into the grave, because then you can go into your fusion plays. Next, I run 3 Mutant ST46. Mutant ST46 is your spell and trap searcher, and it has the same effect to banish a card from hand or field, to special summon 1 monster from your hand or deck based on the banished card. Most oftentimes, I'd rather see the MO5 rather than the ST46, because MO5 can search you out 1 or 2 copies of Mutant Cry, or not Mutant Mist. You can search Mutant Cry off of the ST46. Now, Mutant, if you control a mutant card, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can tribute this card, banish 1 mutant card from your hand or deck, special summon a monster from your hand or deck based on the banished card, but you lose life points equals to the special summon monster's attack. So it's kind of really good and really bad at the same time. I don't like taking damage myself, but it gets you 1 of your bigger mutants onto the field. And if you have both, you can actually even go into your mutant ultimas. Now, I forgot to mention that when the banish to special summon from deck, they all tribute. So basically, you tribute it, banish the target, then special summon the appropriate monster, whether it be beast, mist, or arsenal. Speaking of them, I run the 1 Mutant Arsenal. Mutant Arsenal cannot be targeted with trap attacks and cannot be special summoned except with the effect of a mutant card. And once per turn when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish 1 card from hand or field, then target 1 monster on the field, banish it. And then if it's destroyed by a battle or card, or if it's destroyed by a card effect, or opponent's card, you can target 1 of your banished mutant spells, add to your hand. I also run the 1 Mist. Mist cannot be targeted with spell effects, and if your opponent activates a trap card or effect, you can banish 1 card from your hand or field, draw 2 cards. And then Beast. Cannot be targeted with monster effects, and when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can banish 1 card from your hand or field and negate the activation. If you do, banish that card. So, the bigger mutants are really good on the field or in the grave. It doesn't really matter where you have them. Most oftentimes, I don't really leave them out on the field, because yeah, they're really nice, but there's other things I'd rather do with them. I also run 3 Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Lord of the Heavenly Prison, during your main phase, you can activate this card. This card in your hands becomes revealed until the end of your opponent's turn. And while this card is revealed by this effect, set cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects. And if a set spell card is activated, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if you activate the effect of this card while it was revealed, you can reveal and set 1 spell trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. So not only is it going to protect your spells and traps, but you can also set your Mutant Cry, which is really good. Because Mutant Cry is kind of like the card you always want to have, since it's your card that allows you to fusion summon. I run the 1 Celestial and the 1 Dasher. As you guess, I run Phoenix Forcer. I run 1 Ash and 1 Veiler. This is a, you run a lot of traps in this deck, so instead of like running like 3 Ashes, decide to run an Ash, a Veiler, and an Imperm, just as cross-out targets, because you do not want to be hand-trapped going first. Stuff like Nibiru, Lancia, Droll, those aren't really going to hurt you. But, well, I guess Lancia probably could. But the cards that are going to hurt you the most are Ash, Veiler, and Imperm, because if you normal the MO5 and the Imperm, Veiler, or Ash's its effect, there's not really going to be a whole lot you can do to follow up on that. So you definitely want to have a way to stop your opponent's first negate. Next, I run the 1 Mutant Fusion. Some people run 2, and I also see some people running the Mutant Evolution Lab, but I don't run that. Honestly, the Evolution Lab, I don't really like it, don't really think it's good, so I just don't even run it. And I only run the 1 Fusion. Fusion, I guess it's kind of like a Shaddoll Fusion in a way. So if your opponent activates a monster effect during your turn, when you activate this card, you can use 1 monster from your deck. So like 1 from your hand, field, and 1 from deck, or otherwise just your hand and field. Not really. I like the Cry much better because the Mutant Cry is essentially a Thunder Dragon fusion. And while only running 1 of it, it does make the ultimates a little bit weaker, but sometimes I don't really even go into ultimates. So it's not really worth running multiple copies just for the ultimates. There are sidekicks, so you gotta run 3 Eteli. Emergency Teleport, you spell someone level 3 or lower banish psychic. Spell someone level 3 or lower psychic type monster from your hand or deck, but banish it during the end phase of this turn. And this is not only once per turn, so if you open 3, you can summon 3. It's really cool that this card came back to 3 on the last list. Honestly, I thought it was going to stick at 2, but I guess not. Next, I run 3 Pot of Prosperity. I see some people running Pot of Extravagance as well, and neither are really wrong. It's just with the version that I'm running, the Prosperity is just going to work way better because I run the traps. And if you don't really run the traps, then Extravagance, I guess, is going to be better because if you don't open any of your traps, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to control the game, which is what you're trying to go with this deck. Also run the 2 Fusion Destiny for Dragoon, or not Dragoon. I keep saying Dragoon. Phoenix Forcer. I also run the 2 Crossout Designator and the 1 Called by the Grave. This is a 43 card build, so if you're fine with going up to 44, I'd probably throw in an additional Crossout Designator, but 2 Crossout and a Call by the Grave, pretty good. You could, like I said, you do not want to get hand trapped, and Ash, Veiler, or Imperm can really kill this deck. Moving on to the traps, I run 3 Mutant Cry. Mutant Cry is really good because during the main phase, you can fusion summon 1 mutant fusion monster from your X deck by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it into the deck from among your cards on your field, graveyard, or base up banish. So let's say you got the materials all banished, you can just shuffle them back to the deck to bring out your mutant fusions. And you can also set it off of the Lord of the Heavenly Prison, so when your turn comes around, you can just activate it and then get a fusion monster out. Next, I run 3. There can be only 1. Like I said, you're trying to play more of like a control game, so you're controlling what your opponent does, not letting them make a lot of moves. And there can be only 1 is definitely one of the best at that. There are other options I considered, like Dogmatic Punishment, Torrential Tribute, but those don't really work quite as much because obviously the punishment will lock me out of my extra deck, which I don't want, and Torrential Tribute will also just destroy my own monsters, which really isn't going to benefit us too much. It's just going to hurt us almost as much as our opponent, so I'd rather not run that. Instead, I also run 3 Summon Limit. Between it, there can be only 1 in a Summon Limit. Your opponent's not really going to be able to do a whole lot. And of course, with you running the Phoenix Enforcer, obviously, if Summon Limit or there can only be 1 is a card you no longer leave, you can just get rid of it. So we mainly use the Phoenix Enforcer to disrupt our opponent and also turn our floodgates off. Another card that most people run, but I opted not to, is the Dimensional Fissure or Dimension Sifter. Shifter is really nice, but it really conflicts with Phoenix Enforcer and the next card, the 3, whoops, Ice Dragon's Prison. If I activate a Shifter, then Prison becomes useless, and obviously I lose my Phoenix Enforcer, which I do not want. So I just opted to take it out now. If you want to maybe side that and go in second, you can take out Ice Dragon's Prisons or Phoenix Enforcer, you can, but Phoenix Enforcer, Summon Limit, there can be only one sort of combo play. It's going to be good enough to, you don't really need the Shifter. And obviously if you go against Floowandereeze, that Shifter's not going to do anything. But there can be only one at Summon Limit will hurt Floowandereeze. And also the one Imperm for Crossout. Moving on to the extra deck, I run 3 Mutant Synthesis. Honestly, I kind of like Synthesis more than Ultimus. One, it's easier to get out, and essentially you can just make yourself untargetable by one type of card. So if this card is Fusion Summon, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. So it's got to pop on Summon. And when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can activate this effect. For the rest of the turn, this face-up card is unaffected by the effects of the opponent's card of the same type. Monster Spell Trap. So let's say they activate Raigeki, a Chain Synthesis, and is unaffected by spells for the rest of the turn. And if this Fusion Summon card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add one of your banished mutant cards to your hand. I run Mutant Ultimus. Ultimus, when a card effect is activated, quick effect, you can banish one mutant card from your hand, graveyard, or face of the field of the same type. Monster Spell Trap. Negate the activation. While I like that it's a negate, I don't like that you have to banish one of your own cards to negate, and it has to be of the same type. So let's say all you have are mutant monsters. You can't negate spells or traps, and it just locks you into negating monsters. So sometimes, considering we play more of a controls strategy, I will often go for Synthesis over the Ultimus, but if I can bring an Ultimus out, sometimes I'll bring it out, because sometimes a negate will be better than a pop and immunity for one card. And like Synthesis, if it is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add up to 3 of your banished mutant cards, up to 1 each of Monster Spell and Trap. So it has a little bit of recursion when it's sent to the graveyard, like Synthesis. Of course, I also run the 1 Phoenix Enforcer, the 1 Verte. Those 2 are pretty obvious. I run 2 Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep's pretty good. Obviously, if you have the There Can Be Only One, it's not going to be as good. But if you don't have There Can Be Only One, then Cross Sheep can definitely help you keep going off. Because whenever a fusion monster is summoned to the zone this card points to, you special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your graveyard. And it's when a fusion monster is special summoned, not fusion summoned. So with Phoenix Enforcer, every time Phoenix Enforcer comes back to a zone this card points to, which is probably going to be every standby phase, you can summon 1 monster from your grave, which is really good. And it can definitely help with closing out games. Also run the 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix, I'm run more so just for access code. I also run the Soldier of Chaos. Soldier of Chaos is probably one of the best Link 3s in my opinion, outside of Unicorn. Unicorn is probably the best, maybe Soldier of Chaos like second. So, if this card is linked summoned using a level 7 or higher monster's material, your opponent cannot target it with card effects, also cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects. This card gains 1500 attack, can make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn, or banish 1 card on the field. Depending on the situation of the board, it's going to change which one you pick. I'm going to also run the 1 Access Code and the 1 Apollosa. Next, I run 1 Hope Harmonier since the Beast, Mist, and Arsenal are all level 8s. I don't go into it too often because usually they don't stick around long enough, but sometimes that may be an option you want to go. And of course, I also run the 1 Zeus. So that's it for my Mutant deck profile. What do you think? Think Mutant's pretty cool? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.